Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and I'm actually at work right now. I am on my lunch break. It's like 6:45 p.m. and I had to make this video because news just recently broke that Jameis Winston is officially suspended for the first 3 games to start out the year. The NFL came out and said yes, he's officially suspended. This came out a little bit after the news talking about how the former Panthers owner was just fined like around $2.5 million for workplace conduct or anything like that. But right after that, the news broke that Jameis Winston is officially suspended for 3 games. And I know this isn't like my most typical video. I'm in a car. Sorry about that. You guys are getting a car video today. First one ever. There you go. But let's talk about this suspension. Now, it's what everybody expected, right? I made the past 2 videos I made have talked about this, and oh, Jameis Winston, update, and oh, Jameis Winston, is he possibly suspension? But now it's officially official. I guess you could say, officially official. Set in stone. Jameis Winston came out with a statement. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers came out with a statement. It's done. It's over. He took the punishment. He's not going to appeal it, I believe is what I heard. So that's also pretty interesting. So now there's a lot of buzz going around, and actually my good friend Corey Draper just did a live stream about this a few minutes ago, and if you want to go check that out, link to his stuff will be in the description below. But if you want to go check out his live stream on it, he talked a lot about how there's this shift now where fans are starting to have a lack of trust with Jameis Winston. They don't know if they can trust him to be the franchise quarterback anymore, and fair point to them. Because right now the way it looks is that Jameis Winston either A, completely, he lied about the situation to the maybe the NFL, maybe the Buccaneers organization, and just to the media in general, or B, he willingly withheld information on this matter to try and protect himself. I'm not sure. But now a lot of fans are losing trust for him and saying, he might not be our franchise guy anymore. We should look at a plan B, and I feel that's a pretty fair thing to say. I'm still very iffy on the subject myself. I'll still put my support to Jameis Winston for the time being, but I do feel that you do have to have a backup plan in place, be it a free agent quarterback who's still relatively young and can do something, or be it a quarterback through the draft. It's probably going to be the second option of getting a quarterback through the draft, wherever we decide to draft them. That's still up for debate. People were, it's who knows where we could draft a quarterback. We could draft them all the way in round 1, depending on how Jameis Winston's season is, or we could end up drafting him in like the mid-tier rounds. It all depends on how Jameis Winston does now. But I will say this, yeah, there is that little bit lack of trust there now, considering that was supposed to be your franchise quarterback. And he very well either lied or withheld information from you. That's not a very good look for a guy who's supposed to be like, he's your guy, A lot of people give the Buccaneers crap because it's like, oh, you guys have never had a quarterback to a second contract. And, everybody thought like, oh, it's going to be Jameis Winston. I thought it would still be Jameis Winston, and that's still possible, but it's up for debate now. It definitely looks like things are a lot more murky than they were very few short weeks ago in terms of Jameis Winston and his ability to be a franchise quarterback for this team. Now, do I feel that the Buccaneers are going to cut Jameis Winston at any point throughout this season? Absolutely not. He's going to play all 13 games now that he can play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, barring any type of injury. He's going to be the guy, the starting quarterback for those 13 games. Obviously, the first 3, it's going to be either Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Griffin, whoever they decide to start. Maybe they'll bring in somebody, who knows. But the case is Jameis Winston has 13 games now to prove that, yeah, I can still be the guy, I can still go. So it's going to be even more pressure on this team this year. There's so much pressure riding on everybody. Jason Light needs to have a good year. Dirk Cutter and Mike Smith need to have a good year, and now Jameis Winston needs to have a good year. The Bucs are in a really dangerous situation because I feel like we're really close to blowing up this whole thing again if things don't go very well and restarting at certain spots. And I don't want to do that. I don't think most fans want to do that. Because if it can still work, then go with it, and that would just be a darn shame if we had to clean house. Maybe we keep Jason Light, but getting rid of Dirk Cutter, getting rid of Mike Smith, and even possibly getting rid of Jameis Winston, that would suck, because then it would just be like, well, back to square one. It's a Bucs life. It would just really not be a fun situation to have, but it's a very likely situation right now because of the whole Jameis Winston situation. So, do I think that Jameis Winston is going to have a good year? Yeah, I think he still can have a good year. I think he's going to come back from the suspension and really, really try and just go out there and play as hard as he humanly can. But he's got to be careful because he can't let his emotions get the better of him like he did at certain points last season. He has to go in more calm, more composed, and more poised and go in there and try and win as many games as he can. It's going to be a rough slope depending on how these first 3 games go. Jameis could be entering in a really good situation where the Buccaneers are like 2-1, or he could be entering in a not so good situation where they're 1-2 or even 0-3. If it's the 1-2 and 0-3 situation, Jameis Winston's going to have a big hole to climb himself out of. Do I think he can do it? Yeah, I do, but the Buccaneers have one of the hardest schedules of the year this year, so he's really going to have to prove, like, I can be a really good franchise quarterback for a team. It's such a messy situation still, you know. I feel like this still hasn't really cleared up anything in a way, because the Buccaneers came out with a statement and saying, yes, we're very disappointed about the NFL's decision. It sucks, basically. And Jameis Winston even came out with a statement saying, you know, I'm so sorry that I put the Uber driver in this situation years ago, which a lot of people are saying that kind of admits to guilt. I'm not too sure if that's true or not, but he would also then go on to say that he's eliminating alcohol from his life, which is a good step in my opinion, and that he would be a lot more careful with certain situations and experiences and whatnot. So just to give you guys a little bit of a recap, before this, or after this Uber driver situation happened, and before it even came up, Jameis Winston got engaged to his girlfriend. He announced that he was having a child, and he also got baptized and is becoming a more Christian man. So all of that's good stuff. I hope that that's kind of a new theme with Jameis Winston, where he's just changing his decision making and his opinions and like who he hangs out with and stuff like that. Because if he doesn't, then he's gonna have a rough time just overall being an NFL quarterback. You know, you gotta act like a professional athlete, and you've got to make sure that you don't put yourself in situations like this. And Jameis Winston didn't do a good job of that. He unfortunately chose to hang out with the wrong people. We hanged out with a man who is now since been convicted for 15 years for, I think it was aggravated rape. That's not good, Jameis. You probably shouldn't do that. You know, he's had a really bad time with decision making, and hopefully now this is the last straw in terms of, okay, Jameis, you've got to turn it around. You don't have many chances left. Hopefully this is the last thing that Jameis needs to really get back on track and really become a better man overall, and a better player, and just overall a better human being, because he's not going to have a lot of chances left, at least for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the Buccaneers do get rid of him eventually at the end of the season, do I see him going to another team? Yeah, I do, for sure. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that would still like Jameis Winston on their team. That's 100% for sure. But his time with the Buccaneers, you know, the Glaziers have a very short leash-ish kind of with this kind of stuff. You know, Austin Seferian-Jenkins had some problems. They got rid of him. They got rid of Darrelle Revis after a while. They get rid of certain players who have, you know, conduct policy problems, and just overall attitude, not attitude problems, but problems involving just who they are, character problems, I guess is a good word to say. The Glaziers don't really tolerate that much. They're all about bringing in a culture that is not about that kind of stuff, you know. So depending on how Jameis does, he could very well be gone from this team. It's definitely more of a possibility now than it was very, very short amount of time ago. So looking on, then, you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, like, oh, well, what's the plan? You know, like, what's the plan with what will Jameis Winston do? What's going to happen to him? Guys, just to give you the short version, nothing as of right now. He'll take his suspension. He'll come back after the 3 games, and he will get right on with being the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After this season, I don't know. We just have to wait and see how he does. If he comes back and does well, then who knows? Like, there are people even saying, like, oh, well, he should still get cut if he does good. People are saying he should get cut now, you know, stuff like that. You know, they just want Jameis Winston gone out of their hair. And I feel now, with all this information revealed, you know, and I still feel prior to this knowledge coming out with the NFL officially making it happening, I still feel everybody is entitled to that opinion of, I don't trust Jameis Winston anymore. I'm sick of Jameis Winston. He's a headache for this team. I don't trust him. You guys are all entitled to that opinion. Completely. Jameis Winston has not been putting himself in a good situation, and he's not helping himself under any circumstances for being a franchise quarterback. You need a guy who can be a leader and not make mistakes like this. You know, it's not a good look when the leader of your team does stuff like this. So, all in all, it's unfortunate that this happened. Hopefully, as Bucs fans, we can rally behind Jameis a little bit now that it's just official, and we have to sit there and deal with it. Jameis will come back after 3 games. He'll be ready for week 4 of the regular season. So hopefully we can rally behind him, we can win some games, and, you know, go on to have a good season this year. But let me know what you guys think about this entire situation down in the comment section below. Do you trust Jameis Winston? Do you not trust Jameis Winston? Me personally, I don't know if I trust him as much anymore, but I'll still try and get behind him. I mean, I'll still be behind him until, you know, he's gone. You know, until he leaves or the Bucs cut him. I'll try and support him as much as I can because, I mean, he's our guy right now, you know. He's the guy. He's going to be the starting guy this year for 13 games of the season, unless he's injured. So, let me know what you guys think. Do you trust Jameis? Are you sick of Jameis? Do you think he's a headache? Let me know all this down in the comment section below. I do hope you all enjoyed this video. And again, thank you so much for watching. And sorry this was in the car. I know it's kind of weird, but it's my lunch break, so I'm so sorry. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.